Hello, dear viewers. Welcome to our channel, Korea from Inside. Today, we invite you to join us on a journey into a deeply emotional and fascinating story. Kim Go Eun breaks down. Am I waiting for nothing? Love my little girl. What's behind these heartfelt words? Let's find out together, right now. The lights were dim, the air unusually quiet, and the tension so thick it could be sliced with a knife. On a rainy Seoul afternoon, Kim Go Eun, beloved actress and cherished national sweetheart, took to her personal social media, not with a smile, not with a glamorous photo shoot, but with a trembling voice and tear-streaked cheeks. What she said next sent shockwaves across Korea and the world. Am I waiting for nothing? She whispered, barely audible, eyes glassy with tears. Is this love just a shadow I keep chasing? The video was short. Just 1 minute and 37 seconds. But it shattered the hearts of millions. Familiar face, an unfamiliar pain. Kim Go Eun, known for her radiant smile and emotional depth in dramas like Goblin and Yumi's Cells, has always maintained a balance between stardom and privacy, rarely one to speak publicly about her personal life. Fans were stunned to see her so raw, so real, so broken. Her words were not part of a promotional campaign, they weren't lines from an upcoming script. This was no performance. I thought if I loved hard enough, waited long enough, things would change. But all I hear in return is silence. Within hours, hashtags exploded, #Kim Go Eun, #love my little girl, #am I waiting for nothing. Viewers, stunned and shaken, demanded answers. What had happened to the vibrant woman they adored? Who or what had pushed her to this edge? And then, the story began to unravel. Whispers of a hidden relationship. Insiders close to the actress began to speak, carefully, anonymously. There was someone, one confidant said. Someone not in the industry. Someone she called her safe place. She's been in this secret relationship for nearly 2 years. Another source added. She was thinking of starting a family. She talked about wanting a daughter. She called her imaginary child my little girl. It was her dream. But something had gone terribly wrong. Behind the curtain, the collapse. According to those closest to her, Kim Go Eun had been holding on to a relationship that slowly drained her spirit. While she smiled for the cameras and filmed cheerful vlogs, privately she was sending long, unanswered messages, showing up to silent dinners, and weeping alone in parking lots. She waited. And waited. She believed promises, said a friend. But what started as deep love turned into emotional starvation. The breaking point came just days before the viral video. A final message, a brutal, 6-word text from the man she loved: I'm not ready. Move on. No explanation. No closure, just silence. And with that, the last of her hope crumbled. The internet reacts. Outrage and empathy. Thousands of fans flooded the internet with messages of support, heartbreak, and rage. You don't deserve this pain. You gave love. That's never in vain. We're here, Go Eun. Always. Others speculated, was her little girl more than just a dream? Rumors swirled. Had there been a miscarriage? Was she quietly undergoing fertility treatments? Her team has neither confirmed nor denied the speculations, fueling the emotional storm even more. But it wasn't just fans who reacted. Fellow actors, including Gong Yoo, Park Bo-gum, and Yong Hyun, reportedly reached out privately, some even rumored to have visited her at home. An anonymous industry executive stated, she has more people who love her than she realizes. 2 days after the breakdown video, another post appeared on Kim Go Eun's account. No words. Just a photo, a child's drawing. Crayon lines. A small girl in a yellow dress holding hands with a tall woman, unmistakably Kim herself. Captioned only with, "She still lives in my heart." The post went viral instantly. Some cried. Others speculated, was this the little girl she longed for? Or a metaphor for the version of herself she had lost? Either way, the message was clear. Pain might linger, but love, even unfulfilled, leaves a permanent mark. Turning pain into power. In a surprise announcement a week later, Kim Go Eun made a bold move. She would be producing and starring in a new independent film titled My Little Girl, based loosely on her own experiences of grief, unrequited love, and the fragile strength of a woman rebuilding herself. This isn't about revenge, She told reporters at a private press conference. It's about healing. I'm not the only one who's ever waited. I'm not the only one who's ever broken. I want to give a voice to that silence we carry around. The room reportedly fell silent. Even the press seemed unsure how to follow up, but fans knew. This wasn't a comeback. This was a rebirth. Final words, not the end, but a new beginning. Kim Go-eun is no longer waiting in silence. Her tears, though still fresh, are now symbols of resilience. Her story, though painful, has inspired thousands, maybe millions, to speak, to heal, to rise. To love deeply is never foolish, to break down is never weakness, and to walk forward, even with a broken heart, is the bravest act of all. I thought I was waiting for someone, but maybe I was just waiting to become myself again. Kim Go-eun. The glow of her phone's screen reflected off tear-stained cheeks as Kim Go-eun stared at the final message. I'm not ready. Move on. That 6-word sentence felt like a verdict delivered deep at midnight, cold, clinical, final. Every memory, every shared glance, every whispered dream of us could be erased with just those words. No apology, no explanation, no chance to heal. She sank to the polished hardwood floor of her apartment, the same floor she'd practiced scenes, danced with joy, rehearsed lines late into the night. Now it felt hostile, like shards of broken glass against her skin. She tried to call him, but the number was already offline. She tried to text again, begging for clarity, another chance, some kind of light. But even the loading circle stopped spinning. She was blocked. The first few nights after the message, she curled up under warm blankets but slept no more than 2 hours at a time. Night after night, she replayed the conversations in her mind, the excited flutter of her heart when he said, "You're like family," the silence that followed when she asked, "What are we?" The gentle tilt of his head when she said she wanted children. How deceptive the comfort of his embrace seemed only hours later. She found herself roaming so late at night, wandering through empty streets lit by sodium lamp shadows. Memories of happier days haunted every corner, their laughter in a cozy cafe near Hongdae, quiet late-night picnics by the Han River, slipper-clad strolls through her own apartment while raindrop dolls watched from the walls. Everywhere she looked, she expected him to appear, until she didn't. Social media exploded. Some fans offered prayers, others sent digital flowers, and a few blamed the unseen man who hurt her. They demanded. She'd replied only once, a simple thank you under a fan's comforting message. Her silence afterward only fueled speculation and concern. For the first time in her illustrious career, Kim Go-eun experienced the helplessness of self-doubt. She reviewed her achievements, awards, red carpet appearances, high-profile campaigns, yet none of it soothed the ache. She realized success was weightless without companionship. Acclaim was hollow without someone to share it with. Each morning she stared at her reflection longer than was polite. Was she too intense, too emotional, too demanding? Did she misread the signs? Did her dream of motherhood scare him away? She remembered her therapist's words, "If he chose not to explain, that silence reflects more on him than on you, but words don't erase pain." She tried journal entries, meditative walks, late-night K-drama binges. But the phantom ache of needing him lingered. Her manager tried to protect her, encouraging her to step out for promotional events, assuring her that time would soften the blow. Each invitation felt like another stage where she'd be forced to smile convincingly while her heart broke. At a VIP gala for the newly released blockbuster she starred in, the world saw a vision of elegance, black velvet gown, diamond-studded earrings, soft waves brushing her shoulders, and a poised smile for the cameras. Flashbulbs popped. Claps tapered. Journalists whispered. But reporters noticed the eyes, rimmed red, distant, lost in something beyond the red carpet. At her seat, guests complimented her dress, her glow, her acting. She returned their praise with carefully measured words. But when someone asked about love, her throat closed. She excused herself politely and fled to the powder room, where the mirror reflected the facade she was forced to uphold. Minutes later, she returned, serene once more. The show must go on. Late one evening, a knock came at her door, 3 slow, deliberate knocks that made her heart gallop. She peeked through the peephole. Gong Yu, her longtime friend and Goblin co-star. His eyes were dark, concerned. He hadn't come for glitz or applause, he'd come bearing a plate of hot, fragrant tteokbokki. "I heard," he said when she opened the door. And she grumbled. That night, he stayed. They ate spicy rice cake and courted quiet. He didn't lecture, didn't offer pat answers. He just sat. He let her cry. He handed her tissues. He listened to her fear, that she didn't know if she could ever trust again. And he assured her, "You will, when you're ready." He left past midnight. She closed the door. She realized something stirring inside her, the first seed of resilience. The childlike drawing she posted, girl in yellow, hand in hand with a taller woman, is no accident. Months before, feeling lonely, she bought colored pencils and a sketchbook. She drew the imaginary daughter who existed in her dreams, innocent and hopeful, eyes wide with wonder, heart full. She drew their adventures, ice cream cones at Myeongdong, tandem riding through spring rain, bedtime stories under a soft lamp. That drawing became a talisman. Each time she felt the ache return, she pulled it out and stared at the drawing. She whispered, "You're worth it." She said, "I'll be okay." Over weeks, she added more drawings, a rainbow overhead, a sunflower next to the girl's feet, a butterfly landing on her child's shoulder. Eventually, she decided the world might need that hope too. So she posted one. No explanation. Just a heart. And the world wept alongside her. When she announced her independent film My Little Girl, industry insiders gasped. This wasn't the usual glossy romance or high-budget melodrama. This was personal. Raw. He is producer, writer, lead actor. A script that begins with a woman. And by the man she loved, who struggles to heal through art and imagination. Girl's voice, her little girl's voice, echoes in dreamlike montages of painting, dancing, and storytelling. The script unfolds over seasons, spring's budding hope, summer's fiery confrontation, autumn's bittersweet acceptance, winter's quiet rebuilding. The budget was small. He reached out to struggling artists, a best friend singer-songwriter for the soundtrack, a cinematographer who shoots on film for grainy nostalgia, a real single mother as a supporting actress. She cast no major celebrities. She cast raw talent, and real emotions. The film would be shot in hidden corners of Seoul, rooftop gardens with wildflowers, abandoned factories echoing with footsteps, laundromats humming with distant conversations. The aesthetic would feel tactile, intimate, almost documentary. When asked why she wouldn't go big, she said, "I'm not telling a story of grandeur. I'm telling a story of respite, how we find color after dark." Auditions were open to anyone who felt like they'd loved too much, waited too long, and wondered if the silence was all there'd ever be. On the first day, the waiting room filled with hopefuls, a 50-year-old former office worker, a 25-year-old poet, a teenage girl who wanted to share her mother's story. One by one they told their tales. The office worker, Soojin, said she'd loved a colleague who'd never committed, yet saw him get married, and she stayed friends afterward, her heart fractured but intact. The poet, Minji, had written love letters she never sent, she still carries them in an old shoebox. The teenager, Hannah, spoke of a mother who left, of sadness she filled by drawing little hearts everywhere. Kim watched, quietly, from behind the glass. Every voice echoed a shard of her pain. She realized, this was bigger than her story. This was human. After auditions, she walked through the streets, imagining each of them in her film. She thought of their voices, soft, trembling, confident, defiant. Their resilience became her script. Filming began on a chilly October morning. He wore a wind chime necklace that had belonged to her grandmother. The set was minimal, a wooden chair, an old record player, a stack of children's books. Everything else was improvised. She improvised her lines. She improvised the daughter's voice into the empty halls. Sometimes she wept between takes, not acting tears, but real grief. The crew was small but fiercely loyal. When they recorded the line "She still lives in my heart," someone whispered "Ilaijiral Sami Samgago," in Korean. It was a collective exhale. She was not alone. Rumors surfaced about the male character. Some insisted he was based on her ex. Others claimed it was an amalgam. She smiled when asked. Some truths are mine alone. You'll hear them all in time. Weeks in the editing bay were torturous. She watched herself relive heartbreak shot after shot. There were dinners eaten alone, sleepless nights hearing her own recorded sobs. Editors whispered praises. Your pain is poetry. But she didn't see it yet. The soundtrack came from the singer-songwriter friend. Soft guitar, entwined with wind chimes and distant whispers. The voiceover felt breath-like. In the silence I waited, in the tension I broke, in the stillness I drew her. One morning, as dawn crept past the blinds, stopped the reel at the sequence where the girl first appears. Bright dress, hopeful laugh. For the first time in months, she smiled. The world premiere was set for the Busan International Film Festival. A modest venue, 300 seats, less than her typical red carpet movies. But tonight, the energy felt electric. She entered the room with her daughter drawing in hand. Backyard lights twinkled outside. A hush. Then applause. The film unfolded. Pain, yearning, loneliness, artistry, and finally, resilience. Audience members wiped tears. At the end, she walked on stage with trembling steps. The ovation lasted minutes. She spoke in a quiet voice. This film is for anyone who waited in silence, for anyone who touched heartbreak and thought it would swallow them whole. My little girl, she's your metaphor. She's your hope. She's your spark. The crowd rose again. Camera flashes captured her tearful smile. Transformation in real time. Since the premiere, Kim Go-eun's phone text change. No finality. No pain, just invitations, interviews, art festivals, humanitarian events. But she's choosy now. She buys art supplies. She paints her daughter drawing on her walls. She spends weekends tutoring theater kids. She mentors young women who've experienced heartbreak. In a televised interview, she said, "I'll probably still wait sometimes. Waiting is different now. It's waiting on myself. On when I'll inspire again. When I'll love again." Her voice held scars. Yes, but also steel. Months later, a review appears in an international film journal. Not often does a piece of art capture the raw fracture of emotion and rebuild it into delicate architecture. Kim Go-eun doesn't just star in My Little Girl, she lives it. She sketched a new drawing, the woman and her little girl walking hand in hand under an arching rainbow, sunlight breaking through. No longer lost, no longer waiting in emptiness. The story is far from over. Kim Go-eun stands at a crossroads, film producer, actress, creator, and survivor. Pain became poetry. Her breakdown forged art. Her waiting sparked hope, not just for herself, but for anyone who's ever loved deeply and gotten lost. Because sometimes breaking down leads to building up. Sometimes waiting ends not with answers, but with transformation. And sometimes, it's the most shocking, beautiful thing.